Lianna Nielson is a health coach and one of my dear, dear friends, and I'm so excited to have you here on my computer. This is life now. What I love about your approach, it's not so much about what you put in your body, though that's important. So much of what you do is learning to trust your own body. And though that's a completely natural thing, not many of us know how to do it. So what are some of your tips for learning how?
So when people come to me initially and they want to lose weight or, heal their gut, their skin, their hormones, feel better, any of those things, I get them eating real food. And it was interesting to me. The biggest aha moment, or one of them, when I was in nutrition school, was they were doctors and scientists would lecture about, food versus food-like products. And it really blew my mind that they didn't consider anything that sort of was processed, packaged, had like more than really one ingredient to actually be food. And then you sort of start looking at your diet and you're like, whoa, how much real food versus food-like products am I eating? And the thing is, our bodies know exactly what to do with real food. Real food is information for our cells. It tells our cells to build healthy bodies. Food-like information is confusing, and it causes, it wreaks havoc on your blood sugar and on your cravings. So where it gets really difficult for people, especially in this day and age, is so many people are eating things they don't realize aren't real food, that have additives, that have preservatives, or just have too much sugar or flour that become addicted. So you have hormones in your brain that become really addicted to these foods, as well as your taste buds. And then if you are eating, carby things, starchy things all the time, more sugary based processed foods, you're seeding your gut, you're feeding the bacteria in your microbiome, which your microbiome is this amazing thing. It's all the bugs that live in your intestines. I mean, more people are hearing about it these days, but it's one of those like weird things. And if you're eating a bunch of sugar or, grain-based foods all the time, you're populating your microbiome with bugs that crave those foods. So all of a sudden your biology is working against you. And you think you're like, okay, I'm listening to my body, I'm listening to my cravings, I want a Snickers bar. Like I want pizza. And you're like, okay, great. I love that you're listening in that way, but like we have to, make some alterations first. So one of my favorite things is this very simple sugar detox that gets all of the inflammatory, all the addictive, all sort of the fake food out of your diet and sort of restores you to factory settings. Your cravings change, your taste buds change, even, the flora and fauna in your intestines start to change. And the interesting thing is after those 10 days, if you are craving whole foods like a steak or an avocado or almond butter, that's your body giving us a very clear message. Maybe you're not having enough fat, maybe you're not having enough protein. And if your body's craving things like pizza and ice cream, that's telling us that's a hormonal, habitual craving, a stress craving, or any sort of ongoing habit, bad habit, or craving that you've created to sort of use food as medicine or drugs.
Well, speaking of using food as medicine and drugs, with COVID going on, there's a lot of stress eating, a lot of comfort food.
Yes.
Do you find any of that actually beneficial? Obviously, you don't want to go down a huge rabbit hole of donuts. Not that I've ever done that. But
No.
ice cream is sold out in so many grocery stores because people just want to feel something.
Yeah.
Is there a level of that that's healthy or just?
Of course. Well, I'm really big on the idea of like 80-20, where 80% of the time you're eating stuff that makes sense for you, that's really healthy. So you have the leeway for the 20% of the time where you're, having the drink with your friends, or you're having the donuts, or having the ice cream. And yes, in the beginning of this, I completely was like, eat your feelings for like a week or two. This is really scary. Because the thing is like sugar, dairy, gluten, all of those things, they do behave like opiates. So they feel really good. They relieve stress for a moment. They relieve pain for a moment. And what we have to realize is they do ultimately make us feel worse afterwards. But if you're doing it, if you're aware with how you're using these foods, absolutely. And I think I still do it. Like chips and guac and margaritas are like my favorite way to medicate. And like, I just have to be conscious of how it's like, oh, wow, I can't do that every day. I need to fix the stress in my life, or I need to like deal with an issue instead of just eating carbs. But yes, absolutely. That's an okay thing to do sometimes. I just want people to do it consciously.
Perfect. Because there are a dozen donuts outside my doorstep right now.
Ooh, are they sidecar?
I'm not kidding. They are sidecar.
Are they the gluten-free ones that are so good?
They're so good.
Oh my
Well, can you give us, what are 3 things that you would say people can add to their lives today that would help them lead a healthier life?
Add more veggies
Mm.
as much in any capacity to any meal. We try to aim for like 75% of your plate to be, especially like dark leafy green veggies and colorful veggies, just non-starchy vegetables. The more you can just shove those into every, put them in your eggs, put them in your smoothies, like
Yeah.
add them as a side, cover them with good fat, like make them delicious. They don't have to be raw, or they can be, but the more veggies, the better. Again, just the more you can try to eat whole foods, so crowd out the more processed things with like real, an actual avocado, a chicken, not a whole, well, a whole chicken, sure, have a whole chicken, versus like having packaged processed stuff. That's going to really, really help. And I would say number 3, if you can sort of start to reduce the amount of sugar or processed grains, and again, a beautiful way to do that is sort of crowding out with more veggies. Um, because essentially, the more sugar, the more grains you eat, the more you're going to crave, and the hungrier you are all the time. So it's harder to stick to something a little bit healthier when you're eating that stuff all the time, all day, every day. So the more you can sort of start to ease out of that stuff. And a good way to do that is actually up the healthy fat, because healthy fat is actually something that makes us really full. So you're trying to wean off of sugar, add more olive oil, add, nuts, nut butters, avocado. That can help sort of get the sugar cravings or keeping them at bay.
Got it. Amazing. Well, thank you so much.
You're
I love
so
you.
welcome. I hope it's helpful.
And come back soon, okay?
Absolutely.